Welcome back. When he resigned the presidency, Richard Nixon, the recent granddaddy of unpopular presidents, he said he had the right intentions.
Some of my judgments were wrong, and some were wrong. They were made in what I believed at the time to be the best interest of the nation.
Harry Truman actually had an even lower final job approval than Richard Nixon, but he thought history would take notice of the tough time in which he governed. Quote, "When history says that my term of office saw the beginning of the Cold War, it will also say that we have set the course that can win it." Well, he was right on that one. When George Bush gave his final speech Thursday night, he talked about good intentions, as Nixon did, and tough decisions, as Truman did.
And there are things I would do differently if given the chance. Yet I've always acted with the best interests of our country in mind. I have followed my conscience and done what I thought was right. You may not agree with some of the tough decisions I have made, but I hope you can agree that I was willing to make the tough decisions.
Is it fair to say that he just was right, that he had to face tough decisions?
Of course he had to face tough decisions. That's the job of the American president. You have to face tough decisions. And you have to face them well and make the right decisions. I think the trouble is that in all the interviews that he's given, his farewell interviews, he still hasn't really answered satisfactorily the central question of his presidency. Why did he invade Iraq? It's not enough to say it was a tough decision, so I made it. You have to say it was the right decision.
When Bill Clinton said at one point that he felt that he missed the chance to be a great president because he missed a great crisis, there wasn't one on his watch. Is that a fair estimate given the...
Well, insofar as you go, I think it's a fair estimate that great presidencies are made out of crises if you come up with the right answers. The business of tough decisions, every president has tough decisions to make. Herbert Hoover had tough decisions to make. He made some of the wrong ones. General Grant, for all of his generalship when he was president, he had tough decisions to make, made the wrong decisions. This is the way history goes, fairly or unfairly. You make tough decisions, you make the wrong decisions, you pay the price. And one problem that President Bush is going to have that I don't think enough attention has been paid to it, his is going to be a Bush-Cheney presidency. No other presidency we've had has a president been that attached. It's the Clinton presidency, it's the FDR presidency. With President Bush, he is, for the moment, he is saddled with not only what he did, but also what Vice President Cheney did and what he's perceived to have done. I don't say he can't overcome it, but I do say it makes the hill a higher to climb.
Do you accept this sort of William and Mary notion of this presidency, that it was a dual presidency?
I think there definitely was a dual presidency. I mean, I think Dick Cheney redefined the vice presidency, but the Bush administration, their argument has been, when looking at their record, is to say, don't judge us now, judge us in 50 years. Condoleezza Rice, the Secretary of State, says that time and time again, and she references the Czech military in World War II and says, in the past, presidents made these very tough decisions and people got criticized for them, and 50 years later, look, see where we are, and that's sort of the argument that the Bush administration has made.
How does she feel? You cover her. How's Condoleezza Rice feel about all this?
She says that she feels happy with her record. She's very sanguine about going into the history books and believes that in 20 years people will look back and say they made the right decision, which comes back to what you're talking about.
You know, Bush likes to think of himself as the great decider. I think one of the things that history is going to record is how indecisive he was at key moments. You think about Katrina and handling that crisis. You think about the current economic crisis that he's leaving and how he was sort of asleep at the switch as that all happened. And even on Iraq, even though he was decisive about going to war, he was incredibly indecisive about the aftermath of the war. And I think that that's the root of a lot of the problems we've had there.
Where was he every day?
The American people don't know that he spent vast stretches of his presidency working out, now mountain biking since he can't run anymore. You know, he really was disengaged, and this is one reason I think that Cheney was able to fill the vacuum.
The super bureaucrat. We'll be right back with scoops and predictions. Rather notebooks, these top reporters. Tell me something I don't know. Be right back.